You know, there's a lot of fails I could talk about, especially in the month of July. I mean, everything's ramping up so much for deer hunting, and you know, our focus is starting to turn from yeah, what are we going to plant? What are we going to work on the property? Where am I going to scout on public land to actual deer hunting? You know, like planning for deer hunting, deer stands, everything else. And you can see this is one of our new clover fields. It's starting to really fill in nice behind me. This was just bare dirt in the spring, but we had planted clover last year, and so it's really starting to come in, thicken in. Even back here where it's in the shade, there's clover everywhere. It's looking really pretty. And I wanted to talk about a deer fail that is pretty common in July. Now, I could talk about, for example, we have a ladder stand right over there. It's hidden off to the side. Love that ladder stand. I mean, there's people I know, they'd put a redneck right here, right on the end. We love our redneck blinds. We even have some camel ones for this year, but I put a redneck right here. I can spook out this movement where we have a redneck ghillie up on the hill, just like one of the bushes. We have a tree stand down here, so we can hunt this little hunting plot very low impact. I had a client, the guy that installed his redneck for him said, oh yeah, you can put him out in the field, the deer get used to him. Like, oh, you know, please don't do that, because the deer do not get used to them. Does and fawns might that live there all the time. The mature buck doesn't. You know, pretty big fail. But I think a fail you'd back up here and talk about that happens a lot this time of year is in July, you take a mock scrape and there's ropes out there, there's scent you can put on there, and there's a lot of fails that can happen with a mock scrape. This vine is all natural. We have about 8 inches of paracord up there on a branch. This was hit in less than 2 hours after installation. Hit very fast. It's hit all the time now. Every deer that comes through here likes to hit it. They leave their preorbital gland scent on here, and that's the way a mock scrape works. If I use rope, it's not natural. Sucks your money out. There's some stuff out there, some products that are kind of gimmicky, pretty goofy. If you're up north, jack pine branches work great. This is a vine 3/4 inch to 1 inch in diameter. You see it's about waist high. It's what you like to do. And up north, jack pine works great. White oak is another branch. I like both of those, even hemlock, because they can last a long period of time. Vines are great because they bend, they flex. Deer use them all the time. Something like this lasts a long time. Now, you can see where it's tied up there. See, there's some give. Some flex. A buck can play with this, spin it around, and it's not going to break. If I tied that vine directly to that branch, it's very stiff. So what can happen is that buck can work it down here because it's stiff. There's no pivot point up there. It's just tied directly. That buck can break this pretty easily. Now it can just flip back and forth, no big deal. So I like something natural like this. Unfortunately, you know, basically on YouTube, I own mock scrapes. You look up mock scrapes for whitetails, mock scrapes for bucks, best mock scrape scent. All my videos will come up at the top, 7 out of the top 10, whatever they are. And, you know, the good and bad of that is I talk about, and I have for decades, talking about mock scrapes, that all natural is best. That means we can't sell a product with mock scrape. And even to the point where, let alone ropes, nothing is going to be better than something natural. But including that, I can't use any scent. I don't want to use any scent. Every deer that comes by here leaves their scent on this preorbital gland, in this area with the preorbital gland. There's no smell at all to us. But a deer can go by, and if there's been 20 deer that have hit this over the last day, they can smell every individual deer that left their preorbital gland scent on here. We can't smell a thing. Think about that with your commercial scent. Deer are used to scenting things in the woods that we can't even smell. You know, we go by a bread factory, we smell the bread, they smell each ingredient. Their noses are a lot different than ours. So when you spray a commercial scent on here of any kind, gel, powder, spray, liquid, whatever it might be, then that covers up whatever deer scent would be on there. You know, it could be 100 times stronger than they used to, 50 times stronger, 20 times, whatever that number is. It's far, far stronger than what they're used to. And in theory, it could cover up every goodness of every buck, every doe, every fawn that's hit that during that time. So I urge you, when it comes to mock scrapes, there's no scent to me that's a good scent. People will say, well, I want to use this, start the scrape. You know what? I don't think you're really hurting anything. You come out here in July and you make a mock scrape, you try some commercial scent, you're probably not hurting anything. But I believe you can hurt it when it gets into the fall, because you could have that mature buck that comes through. He's not used to that odd scent that's super strong. He doesn't like it. So to make sure you don't have an adverse reaction, get this established. It's a great time of the month to do it, a great time of the year to do it, the month of July. Establish this and then let the deer just keep using it. We make a big pad here. And another failure when it comes to mock scrapes is people think that these deer are going to work this up. There's no hoof tracks right here, nothing where they're working up, scratching it back and forth, because this time of year is not the rut. They only really do that, scratch up the ground around the rut. So this is the focus right here. They hit this 365. That's why we put this out in early June. They hit it right away. So this is more of a calling card. They see it, they come into it. They'll rough up this. Don't look at this and say, well, they're not hitting it all. We put a camera on this. We see they hit it all the time. They're only hitting this portion during the rut. So it's not very often. So always remember the importance of the preorbital gland scent on this scrape. You know, while we're talking about this, and I hate to interrupt, but we have our food plot seed company, Pure Wildlife Blends, and I want you guys to have some great plots, and it's getting to planting time. July is our biggest month for people buying. 1st of July, we're focusing on a rut zone. When it gets into the end of July, we're focusing on our Big Boost Brassica, our Big Boost 365, our Fall Power 365s. Those are some of our biggest offering. We're standing in our PPP, our perennial plot power. So those are some of our favorites. Urge you to check it out. Let's get back to what we were talking about, but appreciate you guys checking this out. Those are a few of my favorites, but we have 19 offerings. Why no mock rub here in this location? Because we've done mock rub and scrape tests 60 days, all of October, November, and we'll find that a scrape located next to a mock rub in that case was hit 22 times over 60 days. The scrape was hit 210 times. The rub was hit by all bucks. The 210 hits, unique hits on the scrape, were about 1/3 does, 1/3 bucks, 1/3 fawns. So every deer contributes to a scrape. Rubs in the woods naturally only get hit once, 1.5 times, 2 times a year at most. So scrapes are very powerful, but there's a right way to make them and a wrong way. Again, waist tie, 3/4 inch to 1 inch. You want that vine or branch going all the way up to your tying point, whether you use a cord across, you make an arch with a winch, pull a tree over to another tree, whatever you do, and then you have that calling card flat scrape underneath. To me, no ropes, nothing unnatural like that as what they're scraping or rubbing under. And then also no scent. Scent can really do you in. And I can admit, we'll urinate on the scrape here. Sometimes we make it. I don't think we did on this one. I know we didn't, because we had 5 dudes and Jen out here when we were doing this. So it wasn't really appropriate, and we were shooting videos. But at the same time, a lot of times we'll do that. The deer have no adverse reaction. They could really care less if you're urinating. They can't tell the difference within 15, 20 minutes at most. And so that can be a calling card too. But we don't sit out here and urinate on this. We might do that once a year. It's just not going to hurt anything. And bottom line is, extremely powerful. No scent needed. And your bottom line for your July deer fail, if you spend more than $1 or $2 on your mock scrapes, that's probably your #1 fail in July.